All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the brain injury discussion. This is your host, Jay. And this episode, we're going to talk about the 12 intracranial nerves, and we're going to ask a simple question. Have I used all 12 intracranial nerves this morning? That is a very good question. Of course, there's 12 of them. So, is there a way I possibly used all 12? Well, I think so. But we are going to get into the conversation today about that. And of course, sources will be in the description below. I would appreciate a thumbs up. Also, a subscription would be nice, but if you have a topic or maybe you want to share how you used one of these intracranial nerves, um, that might be a good thing to put in the comment section, or if you have another topic you want us to cover. So, with that being said, we got 12 of them, so maybe we should get started. So, there's 12 intracranial nerves. And again, it's kind of in the title. Some are sensory, so they receive information, and some are motor, so they send information, or some are actually both. Um, they're, of course, you'll see the Roman numerals, and they are numbered by the location in the brain. So one starts here, which is right about there, and it goes all the way around until you get to number 12. So that is why they are numbered that way. So with that being said, let's see if I've used any of these intracranial nerves this morning. Cranial nerves 1 through 3. Well, let's get started. Olfactory nerve. Well, I smelled my morning coffee. It is sensory for nose and smell. So I was able to smell my morning coffee. So I obviously have a good working cranial nerve number 1. The second intracranial nerve is the optic nerve. It's sensory for the eye and the information that the eye comes with. So I saw my morning coffee, so my second intracranial nerve must be working good. Intracranial nerve number 3, ocular motor nerve. So I must have moved my eyes at some point, and looks like intracranial nerve number 3 works well. So those are those are the first 3, and I've already used them. Well, that's interesting. Well, that being said, let's see about the other 9. 4 through 7. So let's see what we find here. The trochlear nerve, another one for eye movement. It's a motor nerve. So since I looked at my coffee, I can knock that one off the list. My fourth intracranial nerve works. Intracranial nerve number 5, the trigeminal nerve. So, being a bearded man myself, sensory and motor nerve for the face and the cheek. It was a little cold outside today, so my cheek must have felt it. Thus, the intracranial nerve number 5, which is the trigeminal nerve, must have felt it. Also, with me talking to you, I'm using my fifth intracranial nerve. So, that is the trigeminal nerve. And then cranial nerve number 6, which is the abducens nerve. This is another motor nerve that controls lateral eye muscles. So the eyes are naturally slightly crossed. And again, these lines are not supposed to be perfect, but the eyes are slightly crossed. Now, if this nerve was injured, or like let's say your lines are just straight ahead, let's pretend those are straight ahead, you would literally see double vision. So on my way here, I was able to estimate distance using my eyes. So my sixth intracranial nerve, the abducens nerve, appears to be working well. So that being said, okay, that's half of the intracranial nerves. Let's look at the next 3. So intracranial nerves number 7 through 9. So number 7 is the facial nerve. It is a sensory and motor nerve for the skin, face, muscles, and tongue. Well, I'm talking to you, and I drank my morning coffee, so um, I must have used the facial nerve, which is intracranial nerve number 7. Um, Intracranial nerve number 8, which is the vestibular cochlear nerve, which is one for the ear, balance. It's a sensory nerve, and it makes sure that you have good equilibrium. So that equilibrium's big. Of course, I walked into the office today, so I used my 8th intracranial nerve, the vestibular cochlear nerve. Cranial nerve number nine, the glossal pharyngeal nerve. It is motor and sensory for the head and the neck, and it also talks about taste. Well, I tasted my morning coffee this morning, and I am talking to you now. So, ninth intracranial nerve, the glossal pharyngeal nerve, works well. Obviously, it works well because I'm talking. But I was also able to taste my coffee this morning, and it also tasted like mud, like usual. But um, my ninth intracranial nerve works, and that's kind of important. But let's see about the last three. Uh, the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is sensory and motor for the heart, skin, throat, and some other organs as well. There's a lot to do with the vagus nerve, uh, but you might hear that being said as a vasovagal reaction, where you lose blood pressure and you pass out from getting your blood drawn or something like that. Um, that pertains to the 10th intracranial nerve number 10, which is the vagus nerve. So if you see someone pass out from getting a shot or from uh, getting their blood drawn, it might be because of what's called a vasovagal reaction. And again, that talks about this nerve. So that's the 10th intracranial nerve. Number 11, the accessory nerve for the neck and the shoulders. Well, I had to get into my car this morning, so that must have involved at least something to do with the 11th intracranial nerve, which is the accessory nerve. The 12th intracranial nerve, so the hypoglossal nerve, which is tongue motor nerve for the tongue. Well, I used my tongue today to talk, but also to taste my coffee. So um, that probably involves some movement of the tongue. So, with that being said, um, I used all 12 intracranial nerves this morning by drinking my coffee and arriving at work. And so let's look at this from the conclusions, from just the standpoint, and then we'll get into the possible injuries. There are 12, some are motor, sensory, or both, but they're important to your daily function. And an injury to any of these may appear as a deficit. So, if your first intracranial nerve, which is over here, it is the olfactory nerve, that might present as you can't smell something. The optic nerve, you can't see anything. What about the ocular motor nerve? Number three, well, your eyes might be um, injured. Number six, the lateral motion, you might see double or it might be convergent. Number four, another one of those might see double kind of visions where your vision is affected. Trigeminal, number five, where I scratched my face, but if I can't feel that, that's obviously a sensory issue, and maybe it's affecting someone speaking. So the trigeminal nerve is also important. And we already talked about trochlear, number six being with the eyes. What if something's wrong with cranial nerve seven? Well, maybe some numbness, tingling, or maybe I can't control the face. Number eight, the cochlear nerve. If your cochlear nerve is damaged, your vestibular cochlear nerve, uh, you will have some balance problems. So if I wasn't able to balance on my way to walk into the car and, save for any other sort of pot or pothole or anything like that, if there was something wrong with that nerve, I might not be able to walk or maintain that balance. Glossal pharyngeal nerve, maybe I get tongue tied, but let's say that nerve is injured, then I might not be able to speak as well. I might not be able to speak properly, or I might have a severe problem with the speaking. Vagus nerve, if that one gets injured, well, that could lead to other sort of severe medical consequences, including falls, which kind of ties back with the cochlear nerve. Number 11, the accessory nerves. Now, if I can't move my head and make those fine adjustments, I might not be able to see out certain areas or have that full range of view because I can't move my head. That would definitely show. And then you have the hypoglossal nerve, which is neck and tongue. Again, these graphics probably do a much better job of explaining these than I can, but the 12 intracranial nerves are certainly important to your day-to-day function. Um, Especially given how I used all 12 this morning, drinking coffee and coming to work. Um, and so an injury to any one of these 12, let alone a combination of them, would appear to be a deficit. And usually clinicians will have certain tests that they can perform uh, to evaluate that. For example, um, if they're going to look at your eyes, they're going to look at eye motion. They're going to make sure you can feel the face, maybe move your tongue around, um, maybe have you stand up and maintain balance for a little bit. All of those tests are actually testing those intracranial nerves, which me being a former, being in the medical field, especially military medicine, that was important information to know. But with that being said, this is just a synopsis or a quick glimpse of the 12 intracranial nerves. I would recommend that you look into these or maybe find out how that clinicians test these. But if you got a little bit of a snippet, I think everyone uses their 12 intracranial nerves every day. Um, Maybe tell me how you use your 12 intracranial nerves. Uh, I use mine every morning, drinking coffee and going to work. But then again, I'd love to hear it in the comments. Of course, feel free to give us a thumbs up and share this with a friend. Also, we'd appreciate a subscription. And there are my references. Feel free to take a look them up. They're both really good. And stay tuned for more. But until then, have a wonderful day, everybody.